Good morning, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is David Okun. I'm so grateful for people who have been helping me and subscribing to my channel, those who have been sharing with family and friends, those who have been talking about it, leaving comments, clicking notification bell, clicking like. I have been talking about financial support given to the people of the United Kingdom. And I've also said there in the last video that whatever I speak concerning the UK, everybody from every part of the world should pay close attention to what happened to the United Kingdom. This is because what happened in the United Kingdom actually happened across the globe. Because we are talking about economic system, political system, we talk about government policy, we talk about sovereignty in every country in Africa, in Europe, and the rest of the continents of the world. This is important. So today I'll be actually doing a reflection. I'm going to reflect on everything I've said regarding financial support in the United Kingdom. But I'm always consistently invited viewers to consider what I say in respect with what happened in their respective countries. I'm also still trying to pursue the same approach of recording my voice, and actually linking it with templates. So I'm enjoying this approach. Leave a comment below what you think about this approach. And because I've been doing videoing for close to over a year now, I've been doing one way, but I'm actually learning new things. I'm fairly excited. There's a lot more to learn and also a lot more to do to develop this platform. And like I said previously, I will from here on be going outside more than inside, because from the beginning of my doing videoing and YouTubing, I've been actually indoors. I'm doing materials regarding the cost of living crisis primarily, but we cannot speak about the cost of living crisis. In my opinion, leave your comment below if you think otherwise. I think to discuss realistically what the cost of living is, the purpose for doing so, to discussing the cost of living in a fair detail, in a more robust way, in the sense I have done, than simply just pointing to where help might be. I thought to actually discuss it in a more knowledge-based, knowledge-inclined approach, so that people begin to understand what the cost of living crisis actually represents. It's a crisis. A crisis is a common occurrence in societies, and this is something that the people of the world should understand. I'm not speaking to one person. I'm speaking close to billions of people who actually use YouTube every month. Over 2 billion people actually use YouTube every month. Potentially, this recording will reach billions of people within a month. So far, I'm so happy where we are. We are a work in progress. We are actually prospectively growing, which I'm so excited about. If your first time to come to this channel, please subscribe to this channel. Subscription is free. I have said this repeatedly. Subscription is free. You don't really pay for subscribing. You don't actually do very much. You just click and subscribe. I mean, pick to leave a comment below if you are having trouble subscribing. If you're not having trouble subscribing, it's okay. If you want to watch or share with family and friends, it's okay, because that's the best way to support a YouTuber. And in as much as I'm enthused at recording this material, I'm also eager that people actually are making use of it. So with time, I believe this material will reach billions of people. I don't know how long it's going to take. It could be days, it could be weeks, it could be years. My goal, my purpose primarily is now to record this material And I've always stated, if there is a problem, we need to understand the problem as much as we can. If possible, we should be experts on problems so as to allow us to actually solve such a problem. If we do not actually learn how to solve a problem, then we become victims other than victors. And it is a process of empowerment for an individual, including children, young people, and adults, as well as old people, to be in control of their life. We live in a modern world where we are depending less and less on our parents, less and less on our teachers, on our bosses at work, on our governments. The government, especially here in the UK, I repeatedly say, they are giving our country back, and they want smaller government, and the British people are actually happy with that because the pattern of election in Britain has been that the Conservative Party has been elected more than the Labour Party or the Liberal Democrats. And the Conservative Party in particularly are interested in less government, which means the British people are actually interested in less government. Even New Labour now is trying to adjust to start behaving politically as a Conservative Party because that's what the British people want. That is what democracy is. That's what freedom is. So the public sector is closing down globally. Capitalism is actually expanding exponentially across the globe. Globalization is strengthening. So the intensity of the marketization is actually peaking. We are in the last stages of developing our global estate as an economy. Also, the politics is now maturing, such as to free the citizen of the world from the government. That is the belief. In my opinion, I think it is extremely difficult for the government to give up rule just like that. I think we are in for a really dynamic future. If you are living in poverty, which makes you actually a victim of the cost of living crisis, and in other words, if you are suffering from the cost of living as a crisis currently, then the chances are that you are actually living in poverty. Because you see, if you don't live in poverty, you should not suffer the cost of the living crisis. You may actually experience the cost of living, but you would not experience the cost of living crisis if you are actually a rich person. So everybody who is rich is either poor or not rich, because you can get out of poverty and not be necessarily rich, but you will not. You will suffer the cost of living crisis, but you will manage if you are out of poverty. Therefore, I've been actually appealing to the viewers to talk to their political leaders. Go and talk to your member of parliament if you are a member of parliament. If you have any political leader, talk to them that you want to get out of poverty. If you have families and friends, if you have you're a member of a community group, form a small group who can speak for freedom, who can speak for liberty. You cannot be free if you're living in poverty. That is the basis. If you have to work for living as of necessity, then most likely you're living in poverty. If you're actually earning maybe 50,000, 100,000 pounds per annum, you most likely will still be in poverty because you see, if you are working for somebody else and you don't actually control what happens to your job necessarily, which is what's happening with employment. There may be employment law, but it's now tilting towards supporting employers other than employees. So employees are getting weaker and weaker. Employees are getting are weaker and weaker. Employers are getting stronger and stronger because that is actually the political argument in favor of the market economic system. The government are freeing entrepreneurs and also investors, and these are actually big multi-million and multi-billion corporations which are now being favored under the economic system, the current economic system. Small and medium businesses are closing down. If you're self-employed, likelihood you are no longer in control of your business. If you are no longer in control of any your income or source thereof, then you are actually poor. That is the way I define poverty. Now, if you think otherwise, leave a comment below. But if you think what I'm saying is correct, then you need to really talk about this with your friends, with your family, with your community. But if you can go alone or with family or friends, go and actually contact your member of parliament so that such a member of parliament should go and tell the government to get you and your family and community members out of poverty. Because getting out of poverty is the beginning of experiencing liberty, which is freedom. The argument for the market, the argument for privatization in any country is liberty. How in the world is it possible that when we are actually trying to promote capitalism, which is actually good for wealth, every country wants to be rich, which is okay, which is good. That's what capitalism is doing in United Kingdom, except for one problem. There is the chronic and insistent inequality, the dangerously violent form of capitalism operating, where the rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poor in the majoritarian sense. The majority of British people are actually getting poorer. The wealth are being concentrated in the hand of the few, and this is wrong. This is violence. This is an equivalent of murder. Because if people cannot access food and energy, housing, healthcare, and education, including transport, and all these things which support life in a basic way, they're going to die. And you don't need to be a rocket scientist. Even the best or the worst of innovators, or somebody who does discovery, a scientist or a researcher, you know this. Every think tank of the world, every politician is supposed, if you have some modicum of intelligence in your head, you need to know if you actually deprive people from accessing food and energy, they will going to die within a few weeks. If they cannot access housing, they're going to die within a few months. Homelessness is a killer. And people are now facing homelessness because, as I speak, the government has failed to provide public housing in the United Kingdom. And this actually is replicated across the globe, in America, in Europe, in Africa. People in Africa are, in some places, are living like wild animals. Wild animals are even living in more comfortable because they live in caves. Humanity have lost the skill of cavemanship, so they cannot even now afford to build homes for themselves because the level of poverty, the burden of taxation, the violence, military violence, the diseases, malaria, and all these things. Even snakes are now becoming monsters. I mean, all this nature is now at war with humanity, and in Africa, in everywhere. So we are in serious trouble. We owe our ancestors or predecessors, people who are going to inherit the house, we owe them a debt, because we need to wake up and actually start looking at ourselves. We have to look at ourselves. We have to stop what we are doing and become more organized. We are in serious trouble because if we don't now get up and start doing something for our lives, then either we are going to start seeing worse and worse situations. People are now getting more depressed. They are committing suicide. Children are fighting on the street. They are in America, for example, they are shooting each other. Children are actually killing their parents. Parents are killing children. There are abuse of all sorts. Husbands abusing each other. We are a society in serious trouble. We are the authors of our own destinies. And I said it before. If you watch this video, watch the rest of the video, because I will be repeating many of the points. There is hope. There is hope in the face of what is virtually hopeless, because we can make decisions. See, we have the capacity. If we decide to do something, especially if we unite, working together, we will succeed. So if we decide to do what is right, respecting ourselves, respecting our people, respecting our property, respecting the property of our friends and family, then we are going to start producing better relationship. Better relationship is going to produce peace. Peace will bring happiness. The happiness is the ultimate goal of humanity, to exist. You exist because you want to be happy. Otherwise, A lot of people who commit suicide have lost hope. They are depressed because they don't see any meaning in life. Because they are so sad. You produce meaning in your life when you are happy. If you look at food, you look at the air you breathe, or even the birds flying in the air, the green grasses. You look at nature, and you are happy, and then life begin to come back. You begin to value your life because of happiness. People are now valuing their life less and less because of the level of violence on television, on radio stations, in the internet. You see ugliness, you see bad things. A lot of people are committing suicide online because the intensity with which actually social media exposes humanity is so unprecedented that the government now are trying to legislate to regulate access to social media. But I say to the government that unfortunately you have to do that, but that is not going to help. You may have some, I mean, you are dealing with symptoms. If the government actually is dealing with symptoms, then such a government is actually have to think again. Because in the long run, with or without social media, society will explode anyway. The reason social media is not a good place because we humans have lost our ways. Our leaders have lost their ways. So we receive poor education as communities. We need good leaders who actually teach us what is good for us, what is right. Rebellion is wrong. You see, people, if you say if you say something to somebody, they say the first question they ask you is, who do you think you are? Okay, who do I think you are? Where is your money? Okay, where is your home now? Where is your house? Until you begin to face starvation, people are so short-sighted. They don't see that food is not going to be there. The cost of living is nothing compared to what the next generation will face. While I'm talking now, I'm talking for the next generation. I'm not even talking for me or for our generation. Our generation will survive. The next generation will survive. Maybe 2 or 3 or 4 generations will survive. But the future of humanity will be at stake. It is our responsibility now to start correcting the human wrong. It is not going to happen today. It is not going to happen next year or even next decades or even next millennia. It's going to take a long time because it took us so many decades, so many millenniums to destroy the earth, to destroy our life. It's going to take even longer with technology. Technology, when it comes, and the human factor is still wrong. We are going to use technology as a weapon of mass destruction instead of using technology as an instrument of peace or mass construction. We are going to use it to do something else. I have said it over and over again. I will continue to say that. I'm so happy I said it. I'm so happy I've been involved in this. And in the comment below, do your own research. My invitation is for you to take your life into your own hands. Literally, because the government is closing down. That is why small and medium businesses are closing down. That's why the public sector is closing down. That's why the benefit system in the UK or across the developed world is closing down. And that's why everywhere you go now, you struggle to access public service in terms of health. For public transport, the cost of public transport is going up. And we need to open our eyes. We can shut our eyes and bury our head in the sand. It is our choice. My message is clear. We need to do something for ourselves because the government is gone. The government is a thing of the past. We are now supposed to rely on ourselves, no longer on the government. The government is gone, is closed down. The only government left now is for a few individuals. And now a few individuals are using the government as a weapon of oppression to oppress the majority at the bottom. At the top, you have some really dangerous, violent politicians or industrial leaders who are so violent that what they're going to do, they are going to cause the death of so many innocent people because they are power. They are power and they are wrong. Power is in the hands of wrong people. I'm not saying poor people are the right people. Because you see, if it is wrong enough for rich people, it is really wrong enough for poor people. I have to say this because I believe we can change. We cannot do something wrong and hope to achieve the right thing. I say this because I know it. I know for my, I mean, leave a comment below if you think I am talking nonsense. I am not, because I know my life. If I do the wrong thing, I get into trouble. If I do the right thing, I gain benefit. If I actually gain, I get good results. If I hang out with the right people, I'm happy because they are my friends. And you can't have many friends because people you get on are not really many. People you can get on are not necessarily many. So this is actually our human condition. I'm talking about humanity. Because humanity created society the way society is. If we like it, then let us carry on with it. Let's stop complaining. I am now complaining because I know the truth. You may ask me, and you're entitled to ask me, why I think I am the one who knows the truth. Because I think, I use my head. You use your head. If you're homeless, are you going to die? I mean, the UK government where I live are now sending the British people into libraries. It is on the government UK. Go to the government website. You will find that people are being, but the government is advising people to go into public libraries. Public libraries are also shutting down. How can you, people who cannot, this is actually the cost of living policy of the government. The current government is advising the British people to go into public library, to go to churches if they're feeling cold. Who told them there is a heater in the library? Who told them there are heaters in town halls? Who told them there are heaters in churches? Who pays them? The government is running out of money. He has sold the country off to the private multi-millionaires and multi-billionaires. They're the one who owns everything. And they are hoarding this wealth because they are so greedy and actually very unwise. And that is the dilemma, because the cycle of ignorance is complete, whether you are rich or poor. Therefore, my invitation on this program is for us to stop and think again. I make this proposal because I'm optimistic. I believe in people. I believe people are out there who will agree with me that if you do the right thing, if you do mathematics, basic maths, leave a comment below, because if you do the right thing, you get right result. If you do the wrong thing, you get wrong result. So we as a society should not be too shocked at ourselves. There is no point being shocked that we are suffering, because we are responsible. Even children start learning from the womb. So that is what I heard from some experts, some researchers. Leave a comment below if you have seen a program. I don't know what program it is, but I can do a research to find out what program. Leave a comment below if you want me to do a research on children beginning learning from the womb. So if they hear, if your child in its mother's womb is listening to adults quarreling, saying bad things to each other, the child will be born distressed more than otherwise. That is what I heard. I'm not a researcher in this field at all. And it makes sense to me because when experts speak, they speak what they know, unless they're lying, and then they are no longer experts. So go and do your research about children. I mean, if they can learn from the womb, which means they probably even learned before they were conceived. Who knows? What I'm saying is knowledge is so limited because we know as much as we have discovered. So people who do scientific discovery should be very excited, Because you see, there is potential, there is very little we know, and that is a sign of hope because it means we have we have an opportunity to discover new things, things we never knew existing, like our children learn. The impact of learning, the impact of education. We design cartoons, and it is full of violence. The language cartoons use, I watch cartoons all the time. How can we teach our children to use bad language watching cartoons? And children are now swearing. Are we crazy? Of course we are. And who are we complaining about? I mean, if you have children, you allow children to even watch cartoon. I mean, cartoon. We talk about freedom. Children should be free to do wrong things. Why do you teach your children to swear? To actually say very bad thing, to even start learning bad thing. If you look at games, a lot of violence in games. I watch certain adverts. They are made in the form of cartoons. Even children watches it. A lot of shooting. You go to a home to visit a friend. A child is sitting in front of a screen playing games, and it's a war game. It's like a military battlefield with weapons of mass destruction, shooting things, shooting people. It's like learning how to be violent. Such a child sits there for hours and hours, and their parents are busy cooking or preparing things. They are at home on the weekend. On the weekend, the child is playing games. The child is playing games, and if you invite a child for lunch, they don't even want to come to eat because they are so brainwashed playing games, and these games are so violent. And they're also teaching people to have a relationship with food, with nature, with animals. Children toys used to be human faces. Now they are animal faces. Some of the animals are also very violent. Are wolves, are snakes, very dangerous animals. And now children's best friend. Children are being so confused. The culture is so depraved, and I'm rightfully critical of the society we are building. And we are the author of our society. We are creating the problem. This problem is humanitarian. See, the corruption of a fish which rots from the head is what we find in our government. And we have to really get out of this mess. That is the way to do it. You see, if you think your life is cheap, that is fine. But I live in hope. I believe as human beings, if we actually begin to do the right thing, then we begin to achieve peace. And that's the whole point. And people who are listening to me should stop and think again. You're asking me who I think I am. Well, would you leave a comment below and tell me who you are, who you think I am, and then we can have a conversation. Because I have seen that the government is actually closing down, and that is why the cost of living as a crisis is happening, and also because majority of people are actually getting poor. But if we don't pay attention to know, even realize we are poor, then we are in trouble. Because sometimes we think we are doing well in life because we borrow money. We're in debt. We think we are cool. And if you speak to people in debt, and I do, because I'm an advisor, so I speak to people who are on debt. They believe, a lot of people actually I speak to believe they should not pay debt. Well, I ask them, why are you not going to pay debt? They're going to answer me to say, because they don't have money. They are actually owing in excess of hundreds of thousands. One of the clients I advised was actually owing under £1 million. And I was like, wow. He owes houses in mortgages. He had borrowed so many he has bought so many houses, but his business collapsed. Like I said, small and medium businesses are actually joblessness waiting to happen because of the changes under the economic system, under the global system. Because you see, we are actually corporatizing our economy. Corporatization means making businesses bigger and more efficient in making profit. Every time a private entrepreneur tells you of efficiency, or even the government talking about efficiency, they are only talking about making profit. The capacity, how quick and how effective an organization make profit, and that's efficiency. Efficiency saving means cuts. They use sweet languages, they use nice language that you don't know. They are stealthy. They ambush you into trouble so that you don't know. You don't know. You just realize you are actually on the street because you are homeless. And with the government now, the council, local authorities, if you are actually in debt with your rent, you are going to be kicked out of your home. The government should not do that. Even if you are actually in rent arrears, the government should never evict anybody from their property because these people are poor. Britain is a rich country. The world is enough. The world has a lot of wealth. Why do you actually abuse the British people? Why do you abuse the people of the world? If you are a country, if you are listening to what I'm saying, ask your government why they are abusing you. I mean, if you are actually living in Africa, be careful because you can be shot. African dictators are some of the most dangerous dictators the world has ever seen. If you try to because the West and the East, the Asian and Europeans, I don't know who they are. These say African dictators are Democrats. They say democracy they are democracies in Africa. Elections are fake in Africa. And actually, I am beginning to suspect that election is also fake in Britain, in the developed world. Actually, election is really not really, I mean, it's rigged in favor of the super rich. If you are a poor person, you are actually wasting your time. There is no democracy. Because if there was democracy, there would not be the cost of living crisis. Let your MP answer you. You go and speak to your member of parliament. Why am I suffering the cost of living crisis? You will not get an answer. What kind of democracy is that? Democracy is not there. It doesn't exist. It only exists if you are a millionaire, if you are a multimillionaire, and it is temporary. Because you see, the system which humans created. So humans are ultimately the problem, creating a system which is evil. Because it doesn't know peace. Humanity, we the people, do not know peace. That's why we create systems of society. These systems are so violent that it's going to destroy us. I'm not having a go at the rich or the poor. I'm not really accusing anybody, but I'm pointing out the truth. All of us are actually responsible. We have to stop and change the way we think. We have to really start taking life literally. If you do the right thing, you are going to achieve right result. If you do the wrong thing, you're going to achieve wrong result. And wrong people should actually be excluded from society. They probably should be in prison unless they can be educated. But you see, if you are also wrong, you have no right to put anybody in prison because they are caught doing the wrong thing. The very judge, the very police officer, the very prison warden who is actually imprisoning somebody is more criminal, is more of a criminal than the criminal being actually put into jail. They are just not being caught. I'm not saying many people are murdering people, but because they're probably not murdering people because they are afraid. If they, because they, if you refer to your neighbor, the person next door is you refer to them, somebody you meet on the street, you refer to them as strangers. Then, I mean, you treat a fellow human as a stranger. You see, if something wrong is happening to them, You may not even be able to help because of fear, and rightly so. You are so afraid because you don't want to be involved. You could be killed. If you get involved on a fight on the street, you could be killed. So if you find some people trying to kill each other, they just run away, you hide. This is the kind of society we are creating. And it may not look like that now, but it's getting there. I'm just ahead of myself in many ways because still we are actually peaceful. That means we are doing the right thing more than doing the wrong thing as a majority, which is a sign of hope. Let us now go to school in our family. If you are alone in your family, start thinking. The best school, the best education is on your mind. Because the good news is that we know what is right. You don't need somebody to teach you what is right. I can't even tell you that this is the right thing. You know something is wrong. Just teach yourself. Develop a habit. Develop a pattern of living, which is actually focusing on what is right. Your mind is your source of life. It's the source of your power. You can focus on what is right. Even if you don't know what is right, the power of your mind will teach you. You will begin to know what is right. This may not really make sense, but it is the truth. We humanity have so much power on our minds. If we focus on something, you focus on what is right. You begin to develop the habit. You begin to do what is right. This is actually going deeper than most people attempt to do. But it is called practice. That's why the law makes you do what is right. If the law can make you, which is actually a form of force, the law use fear to make you do what is right. You see, to repair your car if you're a driver so that it is safe. The law actually forces you to do that. Not to fight, because if you kill somebody, you're going to go in prison, you can be hanged if you're in America or in one of those countries. Or you can go to prison for life. Your life will be ruined. So you know how to obey the law. And that's why the law is now what makes people actually do something, either the right thing or the wrong thing. So we are lucky that we have the law. If we didn't have the law, we would have gone extinct a long time ago. And now we have the opportunity to be forced into doing what is right. That's why nobody would like the police. But without the police, a country like Britain will go extinct in 1 month. So if you look at the police, I don't like the police at all. Because I don't like somebody to tell me what to do. But if I stop to think rationally, then I will have the utmost respect for the police. The police who are on the street are my lifeline. Without the police, this country, like any country of the world, even in dictatorship in Africa, without the government because without the military dictatorship in countries in Africa, Africa will go extinct within 6 months. That is how incapable we are. We are now relying on militarism. We are relying on military dictatorship to keep us in order. Force is the name of the game. Military force and legal force. You see? And that is who we are. We are humans. And we can change. If we want freedom, we have to now begin to focus on doing what is right. If we don't want freedom, we can rely on the law. But our laws, remember, is now even getting violence because we are now allowing, the law is now actually legalizing wrong things like killing people. You see, now as I speak, there are, I think there is a discussion in the United Kingdom, for example, to start talking about mercy killing, helping people to commit suicide. This is wrong because killing is wrong. So our law is now failing because we are now sanctioning violence. The law is now protecting violence. In my opinion, abortion is actually a form of murder. But the law is legalizing it. Women are accepting abortion. You see, they see it as their right and they are wrong. because it involves killing. There are women who know abortion is wrong. There are women who should know abortion is wrong, but they now actually are hiding behind freedom. This is a form of violence, is evil. The law is becoming evil. If the law cannot now make us do what is right, or even the law will stopping us from doing what is right and forcing us to doing what is wrong, then we are in the last stages of our society. As a species, we are facing extinction sooner than later. So, what is the answer? We have to really break loose and begin to look after yourself. You see, this is actually a human problem. The cost of living is a human problem. It's created by humans. You see, and solving human problem is not easy. But what we need to do is really concentrate. We begin to think what is right. Focus. That is a sign of hope. Your mind is your lifeline. Because you see, humans will survive or go extinct depending on how they think. If you think right, you are going to start doing the right thing. And if you begin to do something wrong, and you know something is wrong, and you go on to do it because you like doing wrong things, in the long term, you are going to be obese because you feed on fat. You actually feed on sweet things. You overfeed yourself. You don't do exercise. Your behavior, which is wrong, you get wrong results. So the formula is there. Now, it is up to us individuals because the government has failed. The government cannot teach us how to do the right thing. The government has already failed. Every government of the world has failed to teach its citizens to do the right thing. So we are in serious trouble because the government is now teaching us to do the wrong thing. The government used to, it was there supposedly to do what is right. But you begin to think the history of the government. You begin to think that why have the government been fighting all these years if the government is right? Why has the government been fighting all the time? And the government doesn't have any solution to the problem of the world. Even the economy growing, the economy is being used as a weapon. As a weapon, that's why there's a cost of living. You cannot explain why there is poverty in a world full of wealth. Please, people, if you are listening to me, leave a comment below. If you don't, then that is okay. But I really struggle with this idea that in a rich world, ask yourself, please, please, please start thinking. Start thinking. Start thinking, use your head. There is so much wealth in the world, but there is so much poverty. How can that be? Because of violence. How did we come to this stage in our life? Stop. Stop. Do not listen to anything else. Listen to your mind. Listen to your mind. If something is wrong, just talk to yourself. Say, I want something right in my mind. Because you, as a person, is an answer to a human problem. In the collection, it doesn't matter whether we are billions or trillions of people on the earth. If our mind is distorted, if we are actually wrong mentally, then we are in serious trouble. We see the sign of hope for us. There is only one sign of hope. We can think. We can decide how to think. That is not to be neglected. If it was not for that, I wasn't going to even talk because it was going to be so frustrating. And it is frustrating enough, but there is an answer. An answer is in your mind. How you deal with your mind. You focus on your what is right. If you focus on your what is right, go to your friend, form into groups who actually practice mental mental thinking. I mean, they form into community of thinkers, people who think right. I don't think any people do that. I don't think anybody does that. I don't think there is any one person who stop and think, I want to do the right thing. I want to do the right thing. I want to do the right thing. I believe, because I understand how the mind works, I believe you will flip over, and because we are actually up, we have the data. You see, we have the data in our minds, in our life, in our DNA to do what is right. So if we actually think, concentrate, let us do what is right. You change the way you think. You focus. Even if you are a thief, even if you are committing murder, you finish your murder. I'm not asking you to do murder. Finish and walk away, whether you are caught or not, whether you're in prison. In prison, sit down. I just did something horrible. I committed murder. Let me focus. Let me concentrate. Because you were not concentrating on doing what is right. That's why you did the wrong thing. I believe this is what humanity are designed to do. Because we chose the path of violence. We chose war. And so we fight. We decided to pursue technology. We achieved technology. We pursued to create wealth. We created wealth. We also chose to practice injustice. We achieved injustice, social injustice. There are people who are very rich. There are people who are very poor. It is our decisions. We decided that. And that is a terrible thing, but it's a sign of hope. If we can decide to do one thing, we can decide to do another thing. And I believe if we stop and start thinking peace, we start thinking all the justice, fairness, equality, which is actually more challenging because our tendency, because we have done what is wrong for so long, it is in our DNA now. Our DNA is even changing from peace to violence. But we can stop that. We can start repairing our lives. We can start actually rearranging our even DNA, our old orientation or reorientation toward peace. We have the power to change the way we think. We make decisions. And if we are actually with people of like-mindedness and we begin to learn peace, we begin to actually focus on peace and begin to pursue peace. Begin to talk about peaceful things. Learn the function of peace. This is like sowing a seed today for the future. Our world will not see peace. But if we start a process now to change the way we think, we focus on peace and begin to practice peaceful coexistence. And then we are going to start replicating that, multiplying that, and really becoming more peaceful. We are able to do that because I believe in our minds to think, because that's what we are. That is what we are designed as. See, there is power in our minds to think. We think one thing and we become the same thing. We think another thing, we become that same thing we are thinking. So we think war, we become warriors. If you see the way the military personnel are actually trained, they are trained to be violent. They have it in themselves to be violent, but they also have it in themselves to be peaceful. If you teach the military to just sit there and not kill people, you don't teach them how to kill. You teach them probably how to protect. They will learn how to protect human life. But now, because we don't have the resources, we don't have the time, because the way the military system was created to protect the state, the function of the army is to protect the state and those who are in power. That is the purpose. If we change the purpose of actually the militarism will begin to turn into a function of protecting humanity. But the same training you provide a military person, you can train a non-military person to think peacefully. Take competition. We choose to compete. So we begin to compete. Why are we competing? Competing with what? What? We created that. We can actually stop and begin to cooperate, to work with one another other than competing with one another. There is cooperation, there is partnership. You form alliance, but we still do it with a view with a strategic aim to compete, to win. We want to win alone. America want to win to defeat the Russians. That's why we fight in a different way. We should be fighting poverty. We should be fighting war. Famine. We should be fighting diseases. You see, we should be fighting cold and the weather. Extreme weather. That's our war. But now we are fighting one another because we are competing with one another because we want to rule over one another. We want to rule over one another. That is the root causes of our malfunction. So humanity begin to malfunction the moment the purpose of power, the purpose of our functioning is to rule over one another. We begin to compete. Because you see, to rule over one another, for one person to rule over another person, they have to oppress the one rule over. You have to make the other person weak. You should be stronger. That is the purpose of competition. There is no need for competition. Competition is this cause the source of all the root of all evil. Because you see, that's what you find in the market. Competition in the market has created the problem of social injustice. The rich are getting richer. They are so greedy. They are so drunk on the lust for power. The power, everybody is feeding its addiction to power, addiction to the madness of wanting to rule over one another. If you're a multi-billionaire, you tell me what drives you to get more and more and more and more to protect what you already have. That's the purpose. What have you got? You have power. What do you want the power for? To rule over other people. It's a form of violence. And this violence is producing hatred. Because you see, if you are afraid of your slave, which you are created by ruling over, you create a slave, and you're afraid of your slave. Because you are now enemies. You see, rich people are now enemies of poor people because they chose to rule over poor people. This is a decision they made. It's their mindset. They created an environment of competition. Competition is driven by the desire of a human being to rule over another human being. If you flip it around to live in equality, to live peacefully, because to rule over nature elements. Now we are even pretending to love nature because of our hatred for humanity. The hatred was produced because one false human chose to start ruling over another human being. The government is evidence of individuals, actually, the individual rulers ruling over people who are weak. People who are weak, who are actually caught unawares with their trousers without their trousers. They are actually caught up they are defeated. Basically, they fought, and in the process, the most violent person actually took over from the people who are not violent, who are less violent. So when you talk of power, when you talk of rule, you talk about violence. The more violent you are, the more power you have, the richer you are. And you just rob the poor and actually seek to destroy them because there is a lot of the cycle of violence is complete. The poor are actually violent people are waiting to actually, they are desiring, poor people are not desiring to be rich so that they can actually revenge on rich people. So rich people are actually preventing poor people from accessing wealth because if poor people access wealth, they are going to destroy rich people. So where do we need to disconnect? We need to really break the cycle of violence. Somebody somewhere has to create a community of peaceful people who choose. You see, this is where the hope is. When we see that the cycle is actually going on and we face extinction as a species, If there are aliens, then they are probably using us already to destroy each other, because they're producing hatred. There's a lot of hatred. If somebody is threatening your life, you begin to hate them. Because you see, imagine, if you are on the street and you can't walk peacefully because somebody might rob you. You don't like them. Rich people do not like poor people. Because if you don't protect yourself and you are multi-billionaire, you don't protect yourself from poor people, they're going to kill you in the process of wanting to steal your wealth. And this is a problem. This is a human problem, which should be the cycle should be broken so that people start living peacefully. Why should somebody want to control wealth, preventing poor people from accessing wealth? Because of violence. And not because of a human problem, because humans have chosen to rule over one another. See, those who are actually driven to be rich are actually driven because they want to be on top of the food chain. They are competing with each other. One person is saying, I'm better than the other one. There is a need for survival. There is a need to be fit. And the source of fitness is actually wealth. Survivors who are actually fittest, who access wealth, are the ones who are supposedly going to survive. But that is a false economy. It's a false doctrine. Because violence knows no boundary. If you destroy one person, if you destroy maybe 90% of the population, only 10% remains of the elites, this is the ruling class. If the ruling class destroyed the slaves, who are now poor people, who are the majority of the population, if they are destroyed, then they are going to destroy each other because they will be fighting each other. The poor will die first. The super rich will die ultimately. So our fate is in our hands. And I have been saying this. And if you think what I'm talking about is making sense, then talk to me and speak to me, and trying to explain how we have chosen war over peace, how the government has been created. The government has been created deliberately to protect rule. The ruling class cannot really give up power because the poor people are going to kill them. And that is the truth. So either you kill or be killed. This is now the state of affairs because we also live in denial. You see, our nature is so corrupt that as people, we live in denial. We know we are in trouble, but we don't want to think about it. We just want to put it off. You see, if I am in a home, I see my kitchen floor is very dirty. I put it off. I pretend it is not. Because I keep putting it off. I'm going to start cleaning my house maybe next week. Next week comes, I don't. I'm going to clean my home next month. Next month comes, I don't clean my home. That is in our nature, which is a form of dysfunction. We are malfunctioning because we don't think right, but we have hope. We can choose. We can choose to concentrate, to focus. You see, people who drive Formula One, focus. People who actually fight wars, focus and succeed. If they focus to win, they win. They become Formula One drivers, they become footballers, they become pilots, they become military experts, political experts, they become academics, they become researchers because they focus, they concentrate. And it depends what they concentrate to. The doctrine should be right. Is that peace? What is peace? You see, what do you understand from peace? Peace means living peacefully with one another. Rule should be eliminated. Competition should be eliminated. Competitiveness is the root of all evil. Because why are you competing with other people? You should cooperate with them. You should work with, you don't compete with your friends. If you start competing with your friends, you start fighting. You start fighting with your friends, you're going to lose them. Ukraine is competing with, I mean, there is something called sovereignty, national pride. Ukraine is so proud of itself. Russia is so proud. They know fighting is wrong, but they are so insane. They are drunk with national pride, nationalism. Something called sovereignty. Now, that is what every country, national pride and all that nonsense. Yet, at the heart of it, there are ruling classes who are like people like Zelensky. Allegedly, during the war, he became very rich. Why does he want money? Why does I also rumor that Putin is the richest person on earth, but we don't know where he gets his money from. But all these people are actually getting richer, and they want the money, and the poor also want to get rich so that they can fight back, because they have been made slaves for decades. Generational curse of slavery, generational blessing of power and wealth, as you see in the form of royal family in the UK, multi-millionaires and multi-billionaires in dollars and pounds or euro. And this is the situation. This is why there is a problem of the cost of living crisis. The one sort of problem which we are obligated to sort out. We cannot just sit there and disappear, because we are not going to disappear. We will continue to suffer. But we have a choice. That is the sign of hope. We can choose to continue suffering in silence. Now, if you go onto the street, people are quiet. They cannot even speak. They have nothing to say. People, if you go, I live in East London. There are streets around my home, which are actually street market places. There are so many people. You see, people are actually, especially on the weekend. In the weekends, the streets are full of people. They are quiet. They don't talk to anybody. You don't even talk to you. There are individuals on the street. And you hear government, national government preaching freedom means individualism, it's individual liberty, which is total rubbish. There's nothing like that. There is also nothing like society or whatever. We are just humans who are actually supposed to live peacefully. Whether we live as individual or as group, we are both individuals and group. We are not either or. You see, we are both. We are people. We live together. We are families. You see, we are not competitors. Wives are competing with husbands. Husbands are competing with wives. Children are competing with children. Everywhere you see the competition. When I went to school in Africa, I learned how to compete in classes. And sometimes you fight physically because either somebody defeated you or you defeated them. There was a test and you outperform somebody, they are going to bully you. So physically manhandling you because you are at the top of the class. You are cleverer than them. That is competition. I think it is wrong. I think it is completely wrong. But it is necessary now because we have lost the plot. We can no longer live without competition. If we fail to compete, we are going to die. So competition is not a necessary evil. The government is a necessary evil. The rule of law is a necessary evil. Capitalism is a necessary evil. Violence is a necessary evil. Because if you don't protect yourself now, we are in the middle of violence, of really dangerous living. If you don't look after yourself, you go extinct. You have to really survive. But long term, we need sustainability. We need to change the way we think. Our minds is our lifeline. Because we choose to do one thing mentally. We choose to do another one. That is a sign of hope. It is because of hope that I'm speaking. And because of hope that I will choose to speak. If you think like I think, join me in the discussion. I feel so privileged to explore this thinking, to explore this idea, which is extremely complex in its manner and its nature. And it is my world. I think so. I am. And I believe that everyone can think one way or the other and produce results. If I can stand here and challenge myself to think, so is everybody. Subscribe to my channel. If you have watched this far, you are $1 million man or woman watching. I'm so grateful that you came. I'm so grateful that you have watched this far. It is late in the morning, in the night. I'm going to do a template now and actually stop this video here. Thank you so much for watching, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed. Continue watching, and click notification bell, click like, please share the video with family and friends. Thank you. See you in the next one. Thank you. Bye bye. Good morning. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is David Okon. I'm so grateful for people who have been helping me and subscribing to my channel. Those who have been sharing with family and friends, those who have been talking about it, leaving the comments, clicking notification bell, clicking like. I have been talking about financial support given to the people of the United Kingdom. And I've also said there in the last video that whatever I speak concerning the UK, everybody from every part of the world should pay close attention to what happened to the United Kingdom. This is because